Well, good morning, and thank you all for joining me today for my first ever Zoom press conference. Isn't technology amazing? It allows us to shelter in place and practice social distancing to protect the health of our families and our entire community. And today, I'm announcing we'll be extending the City of Fresno's shelter in place order through May 6th. Previously, it was extended through April 12th, but now the health department and other experts are telling us that Fresno is currently expected to reach our peak of infections and hospitalizations at the end of April. May 6th is 1 week after that expected peak and the right time to look at what changes we may need to make in order to shelter in place order and start the slow recovery process. By all indications I have seen, the people of Fresno are doing an excellent job of sheltering in place and social distancing, but we must continue these practices to protect everyone in the city of Fresno. There are also some significant changes in our extended and expanded order. First, we are no longer calling for people of Fresno to shelter in place. We're now directing you to shelter in place in the hope of further increasing voluntary compliance. Second, all gatherings of any number of people, public or private, occurring outside of a single household or living unit are prohibited for the duration of this order. And third, all businesses that are authorized to be open must use specific social distancing protocols, including limiting the number of people who can enter a facility at any time, marking 6-foot increments inside and outside the business for customer lines, providing hand sanitizer or soap, using contactless payment systems with disinfection after each use, employee screening using the health department screening questions, and requiring all employees to wear protective facial coverings. Our parks will reopen after Easter weekend, but parking lots, recreational facilities, shared facilities, and activities will be closed. The city manager can close any park if she determines that a particular park cannot operate with safe social distancing practices. Businesses that repeatedly or egregiously violate this order may be fined or summarily closed. There is a concern and anxiety in our community, but there's also hope, and there's lots of hope. I see it every day in the stories I hear about people discovering new innovation and technology to stay connected with family and friends, volunteers providing food and medicine or making masks for the elderly, and the hundreds of encouraging and entertaining videos that let us know we're still okay. And I like the words that Queen Elizabeth used in her video address to Great Britain. If we remain united and resolute, then we will overcome it. Better days will return. We'll be with our friends again. We'll be with our families again. We will meet again. The people of Fresno are tough, smart, and resilient. I know we are asking you to make tremendous sacrifices, but I wouldn't ask if I wasn't willing to make the same sacrifices myself, and if I didn't believe that this was best for the protection of our entire community. And my hope, my prayer, is to get people back to work, back to school, and back to a normal life as soon as we safely can. I know the people of Fresno can do this, and we can beat this, and not just back to normal lives, make our community stronger, closer, and better than ever. Thank you, and with that, we'll take questions.
Hi, Mayor. This is Brianna from the Fresno Bee.
Hi, Brianna.
Thank you for hosting this via Zoom, by the way. Just a quick question. So can you elaborate a little bit on the language that you used, saying that you're directing people? What does that mean? Will there be penalties if people go against this order?
Okay, our goal is to fix things, not to find things. And we'll have to get that through voluntary compliance. So only those people that are egregious or there's repeat offenders that put the public in danger will be faced with fine. We don't want to fine people. We want to get people to comply the best way we can by having fewer contacts with people, exercising social distancing, and all the standard protocols will protect the entire city of Fresno.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there questions? Well, thank you everybody for participating and being patient with me on my going from the low-tech mayor to the high-tech mayor.
Sorry, I think that there were some questions and people were trying to raise their hands through their videos.
Oh, is it technical? Well, okay, I'll be patient.
I see Medeiros and Kevin trying to ask a question.
Corn too.
I don't know what's going on.
Did you click on corn?
No,
Okay. Medeiros, is that you?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
The girl, yeah, is this a girl from Butte?
Yes, this is a girl from Butte. Hi, Mayor. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about for these businesses, especially with trying to get them protective equipment for their employees. Obviously, it's really hard to find those masks or anything. How are you expecting for them to find that?
Well, first of all, let me see. A lot of businesses are already putting these measures in place. They're disinfecting, they're providing masks for their employees and gloves and so on. We're doing the best we can from a lot of sources to get the necessary material we're going to need. You know, medical people will always have first priority. So if masks come in, they first go there. But we're reasonable. I know Walmart, Save Mart, and all the other Costco are doing a pretty good job of it. These are the places where a lot of people go. And these is by investing your resource. What can we best do to slow down the growth of this virus and eventually stop it? And we believe these specific measures at these areas where people have to go to can pay big dividends in terms of slowing down the spread of this virus. So we will work with all with the business community on trying to get the things they need necessary to be in compliance. But again, a lot of them are already doing similar practices right now.
Mayor, this is David Tao with GV Wire. Are there is the shelter in place where it's mandatory now for the residents of Fresno?
Could you repeat that? My audio's.
It's always been mandatory.
What's that?
It's always been mandatory.
Yeah, it's always been mandatory. So again, we had within the emergency order, the right to fine and it's all in the order. We've tried not to do that. Our goal is we're never going to be successful without getting everybody as compliant as it's all voluntary compliance. That's our goal.
Right now, will there be fines for those in public for not adhering to the shelter in
Only in
place?
situations where they're putting people in danger, where again, these are egregious acts, they're serial violators, where there's 100 people gathered together. And you can see by examples around the country when people do that, there can be deadly consequences. My job is to protect the citizens of Fresno, and in the best way I can do that using our existing resources.
Right, and will
Also getting cooperation from the county, our neighbors like Clovis, all that's going to be important.
will there be any criminal penalties?
I don't believe anything's set up as a criminal penalty. I believe they're all civil penalties, but I'm not positive on that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Frank Lopez from the Business Journal.
Hi, Frank.
I'm just wondering, if projections maybe towards the end of this month or the middle, maybe more towards the middle of the month, start going down, will this order still stay in place, even if projections or numbers start going down by the end of this month?
Let me say that everything goes from day to day. This is a very fluid issue. And we're overridden, by the way, by the state order, which is an indefinite timeline. So my goal, my hope if the better we can comply, the more successful we are here in the Valley and in the state of California, the sooner we're going to get out of this. I think the experts are saying by the end of April, we should reach our peak and hopefully flatten the curve in the state of California, the city of Fresno. Once we get towards the end of April or the first part of May, I think we have a better idea of where the end looks. Right now, nobody knows for sure. Everybody's speculating. But I can tell you from my heart, I want this to get back to normal as soon as we can. But it's got to be done in a safe way. We can't, if we get out too early, it could be more harm down the road. There's a lot of experts at this federal level, at the state level that are monitoring all these conditions. And I just want to do my part. I want the city of Fresno to do its part, which it has done very well in its battle against this very dangerous virus that's killing a lot of people.
Will there be any conversations with the city and the county in terms of businesses such as golf courses and not closing? And I mean, many of those people live in Fresno that can travel back and forth between communities. If this, goes on, will there be further conversations with the county for such businesses?
There's been ongoing conversations with the county going back months ago. Our city leadership and the county leadership have been meeting for a long time. Those conversations will continue because, again, this thing is so fluid, it just changes literally from day to day. So my hope is that we cooperate. The more we cooperate with the county and our Clovis and our neighbors around us, the better what we're going to be as a region. So that's to be continued.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Speaking about, obviously, with Easter coming up, and you kind of discussed a little bit about having some code enforcement officers as well as possibly some patrols around the parks. Is there any new ways of enforcement that you guys have decided on for this weekend?
I believe right now the primary, we're going to hire private security at these parks to discourage people from coming in. And probably more so than code enforcement, and probably if only a situation escalates to the point where they have to call a police officer, that'll be done. But we're hoping that the private security and all the messaging is going out to community leaders, that the people get the message and be safe and stay at home. So that's what we're trying to do. And again, on Monday we're going to reopen the parks.
Another part I guess I have to that is just talking about, obviously there's a lot of businesses and people that are not doing well financially. So by opening up the fines, are you worried about that and them not even being able to pay these?
Well, again, I'm very concerned. I mean, I spent 40 years in business myself. I understand what people are going through. It's difficult. Probably the biggest challenge I've ever faced, I think anybody in this region ever faced. And we've got to balance, we clearly understand the economic impact to our city, to our state, to our nation. But first and foremost is the safety of the people that live in Fresno and our surrounding neighbors. And we have to balance that. And I can tell everybody absolutely that I will do everything I can do to accelerate that day, to get things back to normal. And it may not be overnight, it may be a phased in, but there's people at the federal level and state level that have a lot more say than I will. I can just do my part to move us forward and to make this community as strong as possible. But I'm absolutely confident that we're going to turn this thing around and get back to normal and get people back to work, back to school, and being able to go back to restaurants and all those things that are such a big part of our life.
Hi, Mayor, this is Brianna again. So can you tell us a little bit about, these directions for businesses and what you've been seeing, and have there been any problems? I guess, why did you feel the need to issue like very strict directions for these businesses?
Right, well, our overall goal is to slow down the spread and eventually stop this virus. And the businesses that are open, the places that people have to go are grocery stores, probably pharmacies, those things that are necessary. You've seen the big lines at Costco and the Walmarts and so on. So it's in any store, any business that's on our authorized list is going to have to comply with the same standards. And by doing this a little more rigorously in terms of our standards, like asking people to wear a mask on the 6-foot social distances, if you're anybody now going out to a pharmacy, to a grocery store, a lot of these are already in place. By doing this and getting more compliance, we're going to slow down the spread of this virus. And ultimately, that's going to save lives, and it's going to get us back to a normal life sooner. So we believe these are necessary to achieve the goals that I've mentioned earlier.
Hi, Mayor. It's David Taub again. Thanks. Could you just clarify, the public can still go outside, walk their dog, exercise in the park, things like that without penalty?
Absolutely. You can walk as long as you're not 10 people or more, you're maintaining 6-foot distances. I mean, I've never, in my neighborhood, I've never seen so many dogs and people walking their dogs. And in fact, I need to take my dog out for a walk. He's probably bored like I am sometimes inside here, but all those normal activities can go on. The parks are still open too. As long as people are responsible and follow the guidelines, we can continue that. And I know by my talks with the big 13 mayors, I think 11 out of 13 cities have either totally closed their parks or pretty much closed their parks. I believe parks are a good outlet as long as people can be responsible, and same for trails. So we want to keep those open as long as possible, but we've reserved the right, if we find really gross violations, to intervene for the safety of the people.
And just to clarify, they'd be subject to a civil fine, but not criminal punishment.
I'm not aware of any, David, any criminal fines. And these fines, this fine structure was there to begin with. Those were always tools available. We prefer, again, to get voluntary compliance.
Hey, Mayor, it's Corin Hoggard here. I think I'm unmuted finally. Hey, so I just am reading the order here, and it seems to say that people who violate this are subject to arrest. Can you clarify that?
Well, again, if that's in there, that's probably part of the emergency ordinance that was done and invoked over a month ago. So all those remedies or potential actions were always there to begin with. Our goal, and for us to be successful in the city of Fresno, we need the entire community to engage. We don't want to use a heavy hand. We want to use a gentle hand to get people to be in compliance for their own protection. So there's nothing new there. That's simply always been there. But sometimes you have to remind people to get compliances. And unfortunately, there are people out there that just totally ignore this. And when they do that, they not only endanger their own lives, they endanger the lives of their family, their neighbors, and anybody they come in contact with. But and the other cities I've seen in California, my colleagues, they've been actively, through civil penalties and so on, been much more active than we have been. I'm not aware of anybody yet that's had to do any kind of criminal deal. That would be something that would be a life and death situation, doing something very egregious, well beyond a simple violation of walking within 6 feet of somebody.
So it's possible, but you are trying to avoid that.
My job is to keep the city safe and keep the city calm. And I think it's been amazing to me so far. This has totally disrupted our lives. Everybody in this city, this state, this country. And it's been amazing how good the people of Fresno have taken on these sacrifices that we're all taking right now. And some in businesses more than others. A lot of people have lost their jobs. But to remedy the problem, we've got to get out of this. And to get out of this, we have to get the numbers down. And so far, I think we're doing a good job, but there's still a lot of work in front of us. But I believe in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to see a lot where we're going to be statewide and citywide and start to look at that date that we're going to return back to normal.
And one last thing for me, the language has now changed, and I know this was kind of an issue from the start, but can you tell me, from your perspective, the importance of the directive changing from being calling on residents to do this and directing residents to do this?
I think the best way to answer that is that it's a basically elevated to a sterner, would you please work with us? We don't want to fine you. But I want to just emphasize the importance of it and the gravity of it. And it's still the same intention, Corn. We have to be successful, we need voluntary compliance. We don't have the resources to arrest our way out of this deal. We don't have no intention of doing that. I believe that people of Fresno will come through.
And I know it's kind of been asked a little bit, this is Medeiros from KC24, but just speaking about, I mean, really, how are you going to get, I know we talked about how you're going to get people to do this, but I mean, what's going to stop them from just doing it anyways? I mean, at what point are you guys going to be like, okay, this situation is you're really causing problems for the community?
Well, whenever there's a violation, for example, there's a business that's not supposed to be open, typically neighbors will phone in to code enforcement. Code enforcement goes out and investigates. If it's a business that's not supposed to be open, they'll be given a warning or asked to close down. If they don't close down, they have the means through CUPs and other administrative ways to do that. And for individuals, if somebody's having a party with 10 people in his backyard, nobody's going to give them a fine, but they're going to give them a warning. But if somebody has 100 people in his backyard on a regular basis, you're going to have an issue there. So I believe the vast majority of this community is going to comply. For those businesses, those individuals, we'll have to deal with those on a case-by-case basis. Remember, always for the benefit of the safety of all of us.
Mayor, do you know if there's is there a fee structure for the fines, you know, if it comes to that?
I believe the ordinance goes up to fines up to $1,000. That's how it reads. And again, we want to remind people that we have these authority, but we want to ask them again to voluntarily comply, work together for your neighbors and your other people in our community to get us where we want to go. And again, I'm totally amazed at how good Fresno's done so far.
Hi, Mayor. It's David again. Just a question about the mask ordinance. Can you clarify, is it that all workers at essential businesses have to wear masks?
Facial coverings.
Facial coverings.
Okay.
And that's for the protection of the employee as well as the customer.
This is Medeiros, what has the discussion been like with the police chief? And when officers are not necessarily dealing with calls that they absolutely need to, will they be patrolling?
Well, right now, the primary focus for our PD is suppression of crime and keeping our city safe. So we've had ongoing discussions with Chief Hall, the city manager, the police union. We all know we're stretched thin. So that's why ultimately we don't have the resources to, if we had to police this entire thing. So we have to rely on people voluntarily complying. That frees up the police for what they do most, is robberies and murders and other more serious crimes. That's where the focus is. But we keep the police and our first responders, police and fire, they're out on the line every day risking their lives normally. This crisis adds another element to that, and we try to support them and put our resources where they're best used. We have a lot of employees out there from the city that are exposed. We're trying to take care of them all as best we can under a situation that's like a national eBay where everybody's bidding against each other. So we're slowly getting to where we need to be as far as our logistics, but there's more to go.
Mr. Mayor, for businesses like, let's say, a grocery store where employees will be required to wear a mask, if somebody were to report a store that is not doing that to their employees, will the store or business be fined?
We would probably send somebody from code enforcement out there to investigate, yes.
And then speaking to, it looks like in the order that there's going to be social distancing signs that are going to be posted on places. Can you tell me exactly where those will be and what exactly that says?
Right. I've seen a number already, but you'll probably have, like, if you're going into like a grocery store or a Walmart or a Costco, you'll see like taped on the pavement 6 feet apart. So people, when they line up, they're lined up 6 feet apart. When they get inside the store, you'll see the same tape at the cash registers going out, and there'll be people out there trying to monitor people. And again, we can't do it perfectly, but I've already seen this done quite a bit already at a lot of stores. I know the pharmacy I go to, they've got it taped off. So what I'm also seeing is one thing to have the tape there. It's another thing to have people actually follow the guidelines. I mean, I went to my pharmacy last week and everybody was right 6 feet on there. Nobody was trying to crowd anybody else. And this is going to take time for people to get used to this totally different way of life. But in the short time we've done this, again, we've got, I think, an amazing compliance. We want to get it better, and the better we're going to do this, the faster we're going to get past this.
Mayor, another question regarding the mask. Does it apply to only employees, or does the general public have to wear masks when going out in public?
There's no
And
for the general
a follow-up
public to
to
have to wear masks.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Okay, no, there's no requirement in the city of Fresno for people, to wear a mask. It's only people that work at certain businesses.
So it will be just certain businesses, say businesses that are in offices that have closed off, have been closed off to customers. Those won't be enforced for those
Well,
businesses.
anybody where you're going to like a cashier out the door, the person with a mask is there. There's also in some cases you'll see I've seen a pharmacy where they actually put like a plexiglass screen separating the customers from the people that work there. Again, this is for both the safety of the customers as well as the safety of the workers.
Nearly, 1 in 9
More
people.
questions when after that, go ahead.
Okay, so nearly 1 in 9 people, I believe, in the United States is now unemployed, and obviously with the extension of the shelter stay-at-home order from you guys, what do you think this is going to do to the economy? And have there been even more talks for these small businesses? I mean, I know already that there's been over 1,500 applications for that money that you guys already put aside, but for a lot of businesses, this could put them under.
Well, the Congressional Act provides a lot of the relief for small businesses. What I'm hearing from people in small businesses is that they're very slow. There's long lines. You're on the phone a long time. So the big 13 mayors and the governor's office are in constant communication. We're lobbying our elected officials in Washington to find a way to get that money sooner to the people that need it. And there's probably some additional legislation coming down from Washington that'll continue to do that. My focus and my advocacy has been for small business to get them back on their feet. They're going to need money to keep their employees going. And if it goes too long, it's going to be hard to come back. But I can assure you that my heart and my lobbying efforts and my energies are there trying to get small business to recover as soon as possible. One more question. Okay, thank you all.